Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition
Welcome
of
to another edition of Politics.
Well, folks, welcome to one more edition of Politics Done Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Good afternoon. Thank you for being here. Thank you for being a part of the great show that we're going to have today. How's my peeps doing? I trust everybody's doing fine. Welcome aboard AVQ coming in from Donde, Brooklyn, New York. We've got Patrick Magner in from Houston, Texas. We also have Joanne directly from Los Angeles, California. We have Harry Denson from Missouri City, Texas. Lynette is in the house. Richard C. Brown, thank you for being here. Stephanie Vivid Lemon, Lynette, and who else is in? I missed the first couple dozen, so as soon as you tell me your city, state, I'll go ahead and call that out. Anyway, we are going to have a great show. Lee Grant is in the house. Lee Grant from Montgomery County, the county that I just went ahead and did some work in, supporting a candidate that's going to take turn that Montgomery County area. Blue Cindy, how are you doing, beautiful? Thank you for being here as well. All right, let's see what we got here. Para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver, para ver. Let's see. I think Michael has a video. Let's see, what is that? Just one of the screen, no music. Okay, we'll do that. We'll start with your video, Mr. Radnin. Let's go ahead and do that now. Para ver dónde está. Aquí está. Let's make it a good one. Here we go.
We have lost over 1 million jobs this year. That's the most since COVID, and then before that, it was the 2008 crash. The value of the dollar is down. Inflation is up. The cost of everything is up. The national debt has increased by over $2 trillion this year. Spent on what? Nothing for the fucking people. Tax breaks for billionaires and corporations. Tourism is down because of fucking masked men going around racially profiling immigrants, so clearly people don't want to come here. All economic indicators are pointing towards a recession. 170 U.S. citizens have been wrongfully detained by ICE, but Donnie's getting his fucking ballroom. We're starting an oil war in South America now, and now that same orange motherfucker that convinced 70-something million of you to fucking vote for him based on the lie that he was going to lower prices for you is saying that affordability is a Democratic hoax, along with the Epstein files. There's just so much winning, I can't fucking keep track. This is what happens when you put the dumbest, the least empathetic, and least qualified people in charge. I don't know why we got to find out the fucking hard way, so many of y'all. Fuck every one of y'all that voted for this shit. And fuck everyone.
Let me tell you guys, that is interesting. But let me just say something about the as far as the tourism is concerned. All those red areas right bordering Canada, they're getting what they paid for, because the tourism between Canada and the United States, way down. People coming over from other countries visiting us, way down. You know, you want to know how much way down it is? Over $30 billion. Again, over $30 billion. That is money out of the pockets of a whole lot of people in red areas. Let's get further. Now these clowns want you, they're looking into to get people that are coming in for the FIFA, soccer, and all that kind of stuff. They want to go over their social media feed before they get into the country. Wow, that's going to do great things for tourism as well, right? Look, this is such an inept administration. You kind of wonder who is doing the thinking behind it. You have to wonder who does the thinking behind the administration? Do you think I'm going to turn over my social media if I'm a foreigner to come over to this country to be harassed? No, I'll go somewhere else. I'll go to Machu Picchu. I'll go to Peru. I'll go to the Andes. I'll go anywhere else. There are a lot of great places to go. I've been wanting to go to Nairobi. I've been wanting to go to South Africa. A friend of mine just got back from South Africa. Maybe at some point I'll be able to afford vacations again, and that's probably where I'll go: South Africa or Namibia or one of these countries. Not the Paris or the. I want to go to Thailand. I heard it's very economical in Thailand. I see quite a bit about that. What do you think people are going to do? You think they're going to take themselves and come to a country where it's going to frustrate them as opposed to going to Thailand or even China? But you don't want to go to China. You go to China, man, you're going to say, oh my God, the United States is no longer a first world country. Look at the bullet train in China. Look at the highways in China. Look at the dams in China. Look at the solar fields in China. What are we doing, people? When Donald Trump said he likes his people to be pretty much dumb, he wants his people to be untraveled and dumb. Because if we were to go to other countries that are not spending the people's tax dollars on war, that are not spending the people's tax dollars on multi-billionaire ripping us off, that are actually investing in their people, we'll see a completely different scenario. Look at what the Senate is doing right now. But before I start with that, earlier I told you all that I went over and I gave a speech in Montgomery County, and what I did yesterday was I interviewed the actual Congress, or rather the Democratic candidate running for District 8. I'm going to play that for you. But before I play that, let me see if there's anything anybody has in here that I want to point out real quick. Let's see. Paul Fleming says, try building things in America. That's Jeffy U66. How you doing, Jeffy U66? You are coming in from Twitch. Thank you for being here, Jeffy U. We also have Michael saying that video just about sums things up. Yep, it sure does. It sure does. Paul Fleming says, breaking. For the second time in a week, a federal grand jury in Virginia has refused to indict New York Attorney General Letitia James for alleged mortgage fraud. It is said that any prosecutor can indict a ham sandwich. And the Trump administration, to just show you that it's crap, they've been trying to indict Letitia James. This is their third time that they've failed at it. They've tried to indict Comey. They failed at it, and more than likely he'll be saved by the statute of limitations. I mean, this is just a caricature of an administration. They are just a clown cart of thugs. That's what we have running this country. A clown cart of thugs. Anyway, continuing. Let's see what else we've got. While you may think there's uncontrolled immigration in Europe, you will be dreaming. Go to Europe. I have friends that have just returned from Europe. We have a tendency to highlight where the problems are. But Europe is pretty big. France is pretty big. There are a lot of places in France where there's no issues. Just like here, we never really had an immigration problem. Even when we had thousands of people on the border, most people never saw an undocumented immigrant at all. It was all played up for the dummies who wanted to make it an issue. And unfortunately, we elected people who elected a president on a lie. And now that he's trying to deport people, remember, listen to this, folks. I want my brothers and sisters to listen to this. Remember, immigrants are supposed to be thugs, thieves, killers, and all these bad things, right? But somehow, now when you're trying to find all these thugs and killers, you can't find them. So you have to have ICE beat up on law-abiding immigrants, including some that are citizens, just to make their numbers. Because you know what they can't find? They can't find immigrants that are killers. They can't find immigrants that are criminals. So if they find one or two or three, they blow it up and they put it on a reel. But most immigrants are more law-abiding than American citizens, bar none. And there's a reason why. Do you think immigrants gonna take the risk and vote illegally? Do you think immigrants are gonna try to find a way to do things that get cops to arrest them? No, it makes no sense. And what your Führer has done to you is taught you how not to critically think. And in not critically thinking and electing these guys, you have screwed yourself. Just as my brother just said on that piece that Brother Rudnin brought us, you are screwing yourself. MAGA is screwing themselves. Now they're without health insurance. They are without SNAP. When they depend on health care from the Affordable Care Act, they depend on Medicaid. They depend on SNAP more than anyone else. But they screwed themselves because they took their monies and gave it to the wealthy. How smart is that? Anyway, let's go ahead and play our guest of the day today and take it from there. This is what's her name? This is what's wrong with me? Jones. This is Laura Jones. Let's go ahead and play Laura Jones, and then we'll take it on the other side. Welcome to another edition of Politics and Right. I'm Egberto Willies, your host. Today, we're honored to have Laura Jones. Laura Jones is the Democratic candidate running in Texas District 8, a district that some may not realize it. But after I visited a whole lot about that district, it is a district she definitely can win. Don't let the numbers fool you. How you doing, Laura?
I'm doing great, and I appreciate the opportunity to be on your podcast.
Well, let me tell you, first of all, I want to say that I attended one of your community events over the weekend, and I can't tell you how impressed I was, both with what you had to say and the audience that was there to support you. I think with that kind of a back end, you are off to a flying start.
Well, awesome.
Now, let me ask you, first of all, tell us a little bit about who you are and why are you running for this district?
Well, I am a native Texan. My husband and I have 6 children who are now all adults. I am a real estate broker, a business owner, a farmer, and I was born and raised in Houston, Texas. And my husband and I, as our kids got older and moved out, we thought we wanted a slower pace of life. So we moved to a small, rural, very red county, San Jacinto County near Lake Livingston. And moving there really opened my eyes. I've always voted Democrat, but I was not a political activist. I had never attended a Democratic Party or club meeting before moving there. And moving there and really seeing how vast lack of resources can be to people in smaller counties, it shocked me. I mean, I was shocked and appalled for the first year we lived there, from public education to lack of access to healthcare. Of course, there's no public transportation, no jobs. And I just thought, who's representing people that live like this? Because there's more counties that look like San Jacinto County, where I live, across Texas than there are the bigger metropolitan areas. I never really considered what life was like outside of Houston until I moved outside of Houston. And so that's kind of what put me on this political journey. And my hair's caught on fire, and it's been on fire ever since.
What's interesting is you just said that coming from a resource-rich county, a resource-rich district, it was a shock to you when you moved into this particular area, District 8. Now, do you think the people that are, what should I call the natives of District 8, really understand that there's a lot that we could say it's due them that they don't receive, and that their representative, even as they vote for them consistently, have been lacking for them?
No, I spent a year as the county chair for San Jacinto County and traveled all over East Texas, trying to work with others and figure out how to get more people to vote, get more people educated about voting. And I talked to a lot of people, Republicans, Democrats, people who don't vote, younger people, older people. And the overall sentiment was nothing ever changes. It doesn't matter. I vote, but it doesn't matter because nothing ever changes. People are disheartened and they're discouraged. And it was sad. It was very sad to me to come from Houston, Texas, where, everybody's thriving, and not everybody's thriving, but
I know what you mean. Yeah.
It's a very different way of living to moving to a much slower paced environment. It was definitely a good thing. In Houston, there's always the pressure to drive a bigger car, to move into a bigger house, to make more money, make more money, make more money. And then you move to a small rural county and, you got one lane going each way.
Mm-hmm.
There's one stoplight in my town and there's no pressure there to do better, to dress nice, to have nice cars. And it was really a relief to be somewhere where you were just pretty much accepted, unless you talk about politics, and you were a Democrat, but to be accepted for where you were, because so many people they were worse off, and it really made you appreciate what you had and where you were.
It's interesting because you said it was so nice, or you could do all of these things as long as you didn't say you're a Democrat or you didn't talk political. I told a story that you heard about what people actually think of a Democrat, or what somebody think of somebody that calls themselves whatever, that until they actually meet them, know them, understand who they are, and realize that the caricature that's made of them isn't the case, that is something that once superseded, changed minds and also changed votes. Is that what you find yourself being able to do? Do you have the throughput throughout the county to move around and present yourself to people no matter what?
Yes, because I am unapologetic about being a Democrat. I am not arguing with people in the grocery store. But one of the things that I realized needed to happen when I stepped into the county chair role was we needed branding. We had no office. We had nothing, just this bad perception that propaganda that was coming out against Democrats. And I volunteered at food pantries. I went to local churches. I did my best to try to build community. And the people that knew me liked me. They liked me a lot. They knew I was a Democrat. So I had T-shirts made that said, proud to be a rural Texas Democrat. And that was one of the small fundraising things that we did for the county party when I traveled around East Texas, was to, sell these shirts for $5 or $10 because I was proud and I would wear my shirt everywhere. No one ever called me names or treated me badly, but I am unapologetically a rural Texas Democrat. That's where I live. But people are not, this is my fourth election cycle. Mm-hmm. So I've spent a lot of time, of course, talking to Republicans in my area and Democrats as well. There are Democrats that exist in rural areas. And over and over again, the Republicans would say, we agree with everything you're saying. We love you. You're awesome. You remind me of my daughter, my granddaughter. We just wish you were a Republican. Will you switch parties? Absolutely not. Over and over and over again. So it was like, we like you. We want to vote for you, but we only vote for the red team. Sorry, we're not going to vote for you. And, quite a few of them may have voted for me, but it was a secret because it's very much like being in high school or in middle school. Even if someone doesn't agree with the Republican Party's platform, they got to keep that red shirt on, because if they don't, they can't sit next to their friends at church. They're not going to be invited to go have coffee with their friends because they're going to be treated a certain way. So it would be great if we could all just kind of grow up and vote our conscience. But, we're not there yet. So I am empathetic, but at the same time, it's killing us.
I think in listening to you and listening to your narrative and reading about you, I honestly think that you have what it takes to take a few sneers, go into those churches and talk on issues. And especially now, because we are in a position right now that this particular administration is hurting everybody, including their own, from healthcare to farming, what tariffs are doing to farming. And I went ahead and did a little bit of research in your district and realized there are cattle ranchers, there are corn growers, there are all of these people that are a part of your district that tariffs are affecting, that the farmers are actually, even as they don't know it as Obamacare, they are on the Affordable Care Act. So these are things that are material going to affect them. And I think the narrative is there to give them that I'm not asking you to become a Democrat. I'm asking you to vote your interests, and nobody has to know who you vote for. I mean, if there's an ingenious way to put that out there, it almost seems like it's a winning ticket for you. You're in a plus from the last thing that I read, a plus 16 district. We have a switch in Miami yesterday of plus 25.
That's awesome.
That tells you the range that we are looking at. In Virginia, I think it was a plus 13 reversal. I mean, I believe more so, as I specified on my program today, is that we need people who believe that we can win, who actually present a winning message to even those on the other side, the Republicans, etc. And I think they'll go for you. I actually believe that not as a hope, but as something that you can earn. Your thoughts?
Yeah, I agree. And you know, I am an activist for rural issues, for women's issues. But the district is, I think it's 56% Harris County since the recent redistricting has been upheld. So Northwest Harris County, Cypress, part of Katy is a huge part of the district. So rural issues are important, but being a big city girl, that's where I was born and raised and lived for 45 years. So, I mean, I am qualified in that aspect that I know what it's like to live in a bustling metropolitan area. I owned a business there. My kids went to public schools in Cy-Fair School District. And then I moved to a rural county. So, I mean, I have both sides of that experience that I can speak to when it comes to everyone's interests.
With what ICE is doing, that don't just affect Latinos, it affects everybody, because as we know, a lot of businesses out there in Montgomery County, in the areas that you're going to be representative, use a lot of the labor that comes from this particular, the immigrant community. And it is materially affecting them that many of these people are scared to come out and work. Your district is approximately between 32 and 33% Hispanic. It is about 12% Black, 45% white, 6% Hispanic. I look at that not from specifically from a racial standpoint, but from a how will they vote and why will they vote standpoint. And I look at those numbers and I don't see a plus 16 district. I see a district that likely doesn't vote. If I look at all these numbers that I'm looking at right now, there is no reason this district is a plus 16 district if the right person runs.
Yeah. And that's our problem in Texas, right? Texas is not a red state. It's a non-voting state. If people would turn out to vote, things could change overnight. But there are many reasons why people don't vote.
I think it is up to you to change it. And listening to you, now that this is your fourth round and what's going on here, I do believe, and this isn't wishful thinking, I think this is something that you can do. What else are your plans? I know your son is in the military, so nobody can question your honor for country. What else can you tell me?
Wow. I've been very fortunate to have walked in the shoes of a lot of average Americans. I went to culinary school. I did take college courses for about 2 years before I went to culinary school. I'm married to an African-American gentleman. So I'm very empathetic and understanding to a lot of the issues that the African-American community faces. And my children are biracial. And as a mother, for years, I've been terrified about, the police profiling my sons and possibly, ending their lives. I mean, you just never know. So, I mean, there's so many aspects of my life. I've worked in the food service industry. I've worked in the retail industry. I'm currently working as a full-time housekeeper. I owned a cleaning business living in Houston and employed women that were recovering addicts. And I successfully grew the business and was able to sell it. And we moved to the country where I am a farmer. So I have chickens and ducks and bees and goats and dogs. So there's so many overlaps with my life and the average American. I can empathize. I've walked in the shoes of a lot of different people. And I believe that's one thing that's missing right now with our elected officials at the federal level and even at the state level. When you keep electing wealthy white men over and over again, you're going to get what you get. We need to, and one of the reasons that I'm running and continue to run is because we need to normalize regular, average, everyday Americans running to represent our people. Because who better than to make great legislation for people like me and then to be a person like me? So, some people may look and go, oh, she's not qualified. She's not a lawyer. She didn't spend time, working for Senator so-and-so in college. Where did that get us? Where did that get us? We've done what we thought would work and it's not working. It seems like most of the majority of the elected officials right now, they're on the take. They're being purchased by billionaires. I am not for sale. I am going to stand on my integrity and my ethics, and I'm going to fight for the American people, for people in my family, for my neighbors. so many of the Republicans or people that vote Republican, they don't even know we're fighting for them right now. But we're fighting for them too, because bad legislation doesn't just affect Democrats, it affects everybody. So I am who I am. This is my fourth cycle. It's not about me. It's not about it. It is about winning, but that's not the only reason that I'm running. So, I mean, it's been an awesome experience, and I've made a lot of friends across the district, and I've done it what I believe is the sustainable way. I've worked to build relationships in the counties across the district with community leaders, with people doing the work in faith communities, with the food pantries, because I believe those people are just as much as a part of what we're doing as our Democratic Party leadership. So it's been a great experience, and I'm having a great time.
Now, Laura, one of the things that really took me aback for a while is when you told me about your husband having a stroke, you having to go back to work, 2 hours into town, 3 hours back home for working 5 hours commuting plus the standard work that you do. Your work ethic is impeccable, something that you know about, something that is you have more in common with your district than the current representative of your district has. Why don't you tell me a little bit about how your husband's stroke has changed your life and how that is congruous to so many people in your district and throughout the country?
Yes, well, unfortunately, my husband at 49, he woke up one Saturday morning and he had a stroke. He's healthy. You know, we eat well, we take care of our bodies, and it's just something very unfortunate that happened, totally unexpected. Wow, what a life-changing experience, and not in a good way. He would drive back and forth to Houston 4 days a week. He worked full time. So obviously it was a pretty severe stroke. So he's not able to work even to this day. It's been a year and 4 months at this point since he's had the stroke, and he's recovering, but it's very, very slow recovery. I worked from home. I'm a real estate broker. I have a small business with my farm. But that was just not enough money to pay the bills. I mean, applying for disability, it's a year-long waiting process. So we're still waiting. We're still waiting. We haven't heard anything. So there is no income coming in to help with my husband's stroke. So I had to find a job. It took me 8 months to find a job, even with management experience and owning my own business for 18 years. It took me 8 months to find a job that paid enough for me to be able to pay our mortgage and our utilities. Working for $10 an hour is not an option. Working for $15 an hour is just not an option. So fortunately, I found a very good paying job. It's a 5-hour commute, 5 days a week, round trip. People every day have unfortunate things happen to them, and they do what they have to do to survive. So fortunately, we're in a better situation than some people, but you just never know. You never know what's going to happen tomorrow. I'm very thankful and I'm very grateful that he didn't die, that he's not paralyzed. But at the same time, it was a complete life-changing experience. I didn't plan to go back to work full-time at 49 years old, but, you do what you have to do to stay afloat. So we had health insurance through the ACA for years because his employer didn't provide health insurance, and I was a business owner. Fortunately, my new employer has agreed to pay for health insurance for us, but that is a very recent thing. And before, I didn't know how we were going to afford triple, quadruple premiums with going through the ACA again. I mean, that's just it. It was one of those situations that kept me up at night because my husband takes about 6 different prescription medications. He goes to the doctor, he goes to physical therapy, and we have to have health insurance. If we don't have health insurance, I don't know. So I'm very fortunate to have had my employer agree to provide health insurance for us that starts next year.
Laura, I wanted to tell this story because of everything that we've spoken about thus far. This is the most important story to every single Texan in your district that is going to vote this year. Because this year, we will determine if there will be health care, if extenuating circumstances occur, that you won't be left by the wayside. Right now, had you not gotten that job in January, you may have had to go without insurance because it would likely have been tripled.
Yes.
You found a way out, but you understand those concepts as a congressperson representing your district. You can actually say you have lived it. The person on the other side that will likely be running against you probably has no clue what it would take for a regular American citizen, a regular Texan, to go through what the average Texan has to go through. And I think it's incumbent on us all to somehow inform the electorate that this is the reality. These aren't platonic. This is the reality. So, first of all, thanks for telling us that story. I think it's the most important story that you've told thus far. In closing, why don't you tell me what you want the audience to know, and how can people, get to you?
Well, I'm on all the social media platforms. I have a website, laura4tx.com. If you could find me on social media and share and like my posts, that would be really, really awesome. If you have a couple of dollars you can throw my way, I'm always going to take donations. That's not my primary focus, but, I need money to buy campaign signs and push cards so people can know who I am. So that's about it. Thank you so much.
What is your website again?
Laura, LAURA, the number 4, TX.com.
And I want folks who are watching this interview, not just listening to this interview, to realize where Laura is right now. Laura is in her car on her 3-hour commute back to Montgomery. 3 or close to Montgomery. I know it's in the area. On a 3-hour commute. Thank you, Laura, for having been on Politics Done Right. And you will make a great representative for District 8.
Well, thank you so much for having me on the podcast.
Absolutely. So anyway, folks, let me just say this, because one of the things that I'm impressed with this woman, she can actually go and campaign in her district and point out that she has lived what many in that district are living through. This is a woman that spends 5 hours on the road. This is a woman whose husband got a stroke in a healthcare system that is horrendous. This is a woman who had to make do with finding another job that could actually pay the bills as she commutes 5 hours a day. This is a person who has 6 kids, a person whose kid serves in the military. I mean, for every single America lover, every single person that claims glory, glory, hallelujah, Republican, Democrat, or otherwise, should look at her story and understand that any of these candidates that are running, if there's one that really, really understands what the average American citizen is going through, she does. And not voting for her and voting by the guy that's been there, that doesn't really walk the county, that knows little about how the middle class really lives, what the tribulations that they have to go through. We have to start electing people who really understand what middle class folks, what poor folks, what folks that have health problems, what folks that are living on the land, what they're going through. And most of those that call themselves Republican today are not those who understand these particular concepts about who's running, what they're doing, etc. So check her out. And, I think for those of you who have a couple of change, let's support. You heard when I gave that speech in Montgomery, the one thing I said is we have to invest in our winners. That's what I made sure and say. We have to invest in our winners, and we have to invest in those promoting the message of our winners. So take that for what it's worth. Earlier today on my morning program, as you know, Talarico, for the Senate here in Texas, Talarico is running, as well as Jasmine Crockett. And Neil Aquino wasn't too happy about that. He thinks what it turns out to be is by having 2 strong candidates lashing out at each other, what's going to happen is it's going to eat a whole lot of campaign dollars unnecessarily. And in the process, leave a lot wanting. And in effect, he threw his hands up in the air and said, what the heck? Those monies should be coming into those who are propping up the electorate, those who are encouraging people to vote, those who are promoting the message to inform folks on why they should vote. But instead, the people that are going to earn from the millions that both Talarico and Jasmine are going to put out there. It's going to go into fat cats' coffers, consultants that wouldn't know a poor person or a middle class person if they stumbled into them. And I agree with it. What we need to do, however, is we are the ones, those of us who contribute, etc. We're the ones that control our pockets, and let's do it the right way. It's not these two candidates. Let the system work. Put your dollars in races that are, this young lady that we have here. She's likely the winner in that primary. That is the kind of stuff that where we need to be. And of course, in places like the Houston Democracy Project needs your support. Politics Done Right and Egberto Off the Record, or newsletter, need your support. It's not good that these guys eat up all the funds that are available to get things done. Anyway, Gene Daigle say they tell us let them eat cake, and I say eat the rich. I'm with you. Michael had a commentary that he said our economy sucks. The minimum wage is a starvation wage. So $15 an hour, which is basically double the minimum wage. If the minimum wage kept up with inflation, the minimum wage would be $24 per hour. If the minimum wage kept up with productivity, the minimum wage would be $27 per hour. If the minimum wage grew like Wall Street bonuses, the minimum wage would be $33 per hour. That's pretty close to living wages, which is what FDR's minimum wage was meant to be from the start. But as we have a plutocracy that is failing us, something we can't trust. Anyway, I want to set us up for the other video. And it goes like this. We are being used by Donald Trump for piracy and grand theft. I want to repeat that. Donald Trump is effecting piracy and grand theft in our name. I'm going to have a lot to say about the attack on the oil tanker, the season of the oil tanker, in a minute. But I just want you to watch this piece, and then we'll take it on the other side.
The Trump administration has gone from blowing up boats off the Venezuelan coast to seizing an oil tanker. Senator Rand Paul calls it an initiation of war. Is it? At the very least, it is an escalation. Here's the video of the operation released by Attorney General Pam Bondi. She says this is the video. It appears to have troops rappelling down from military helicopters onto the tanker. Bondi says they were executing a seizure warrant and that the vessel was used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. The same ship was sanctioned by the U.S. under Joe Biden back in 2022. Venezuela's government is calling the seizure a bold-faced robbery and piracy, their words. On Instagram, its foreign minister says that Trump's objective has been revealed, that it has, quote, always been to take Venezuelan oil without paying. To scramble its origins, the ship was flying a Guyanese flag, but that country's government says the tanker is not theirs. White House Secretary Caroline Leavitt provided new details about the seizure moments ago.
The Department of Justice requested and was approved for a warrant to seize a vessel because it's a sanctioned shadow vessel known for carrying black market sanctioned oil to the IRGC, which you know is a sanctioned entity.
Would he use this seized Venezuelan oil to try to help Americans with affordability here in the United States?
Well, what I can tell you right now, the vessel has been seized, as you know, and the Department of Justice did that in conjunction with the Coast Guard and the Department of War. The vessel is currently undergoing a forfeiture process right now. The United States currently has a full investigative team on the ground on the vessel, and individuals on board the vessel are being interviewed, and any relevant evidence is being seized. And the United States does intend to seize the oil. However, there is a legal process for the seizure of that oil, and that legal process will be followed.
Since September, the U.S. has targeted more than 20 boats in deadly strikes on suspected, alleged drug traffickers, killing more than 80 people. The U.S. has also amassed a huge military presence in the waters near Venezuela, 11 warships, including the USS Gerald Ford. A total of 15,000 U.S. troops are reportedly in the region. And Donald Trump has said Nicolas Maduro's days are numbered. So is the goal regime change? We keep on asking this. We ask it almost every day. Or is Venezuela's foreign minister right? Is the Trump administration's goal to take the oil without paying? Either way, what happens next?
Yes, the goal is to take the oil without pay. This is grand theft. Let me tell you something. I mean, Donald Trump, he spoke about taking Iraq's oil. Who the hell give the United States the right to take away the natural resources of another country by force? First of all, they normally do it ripping them off using their corporatocracy to go in there and make deals with that country's plutocracy. I want to tell you something because the United States like to look at countries like what Venezuela attempted and say, you see, a social democracy fails. That's what they want to tell you. A social democracy fails. But you know why a social democracy fails? Because the United States ensures that a social democracy in Latin America would fail, in the Caribbean will fail, because the other social democracies around the world, Norway, Sweden, all these other social democracies are doing fine, right? But here we got Hugo Chavez, who came into power in Venezuela after the plutocracy in Venezuela has ripped off the country's resources on the cheap while they made a fortune. He came in and he said, no, we're going to have the Bolivarian revolution. And we are going to make sure that the natural resources of Venezuela will be owned and controlled by the people. That started this whole international business of wanting to attack Venezuela. And what did we do? Sanctions on Venezuela. Ensure that trade in Venezuela would be difficult. Ensure that you couldn't get your equipment repaired. Ensure all of those things, right? Because you could not have, let me just tell you, in the beginning, Hugo Chavez and the Bolivarian Revolution was doing great. Poverty was dropped by more than 50%. I mean, people started to create their own little businesses, etc. Everybody was getting even more, not just the small middle class, not just the plutocracy. People were doing just fine. But again, these greedy thugs couldn't have it. So, with the auspices and help of the United States, after they nationalized their natural resources, of course, the United States is going to make sure and say, we cannot have a successful social democracy in this hemisphere, especially one that is sitting on top of the largest reservoir of oil in the world, which is Venezuela. Venezuela sits on the largest reservoir of oil. We couldn't have that. So what we did is we penalized the Venezuelans by putting on sanctions, by stealing their oil as we just did with that tanker, because we could, and dare Venezuela to do any act we can deem as belligerent, to give us an excuse to bomb the crap out of them. That's what they want to happen. So they're going to they have all that military down there harassing Venezuela. They have CIA agents working within Venezuela, trying to create dissension to get that military to try an overthrow of Maduro. And I'm not a Maduro fan, but I tell you what, I'm not a fan of us getting into Venezuela's business. Okay? Now, here, that ship that they took, that is the wealth of the Venezuelan people. And you have Donald Trump just saying, yep, we're going to take the oil. We're going to take the oil, and using some legal buffoonery. If he really cared so much about following international law on on these shadow ships, or they would be out there in the Caspian Sea with all those shadow ships that are supplying or that are selling Russian oil from Russia to India, from Russia to China. But they're not doing that. They won't touch that. But little Venezuela, that's what they want to do. This is grand theft. This is grand theft, and using the law to cover your tracks. It is grand theft. And I tell you what, like I said before, Donald Trump, if he thinks Vietnam was bad, watch what happens if he tries to invade Venezuela and we start to get the guerrillas from Brazil, Colombia, Peru, Ecuador, and all these other places. Watch the kind of war that we're going to have. It's not going to be a war where you can bomb the smithereen out of people. They're going to knock us off bit by bit because they know the Amazon. They know their jungles. So those of you that are pushing on or inking on to this belligerence from the United States ought to think twice before doing anything. Anyway, folks, we have some more issues to talk about. Let's go ahead but beforehand, if anybody wants to call in, we have about 9 minutes of calls that we can take. And telephone number is 281-823 7747. Again, that number is 281. Let me put it call. Well, there we go. Thank you, El Danube. Welcome aboard, El Danube. Thank you for writing that out for me so that I can copy it to the other chat. If you want to call me, give me a call at déjame ponerlo ahí adentro. All right, you can give me. Where is it? I thought is it not working? Is my chat not working? Well, I thought I put it. Let me try it one more time. Put it in there and get it into the chat. All right. Oh, well, I put the number in the chat and it doesn't seem to work. Yeah, the chat may have a problem on the other side. But anyway, folks, telephone number 281-823-7747. Let me refresh this and see if there is a problem. Oh, yeah, it seems like there was a problem with the chat because as soon as I refreshed it, the count and everything went up. Let me put that back in there again and see. Yep, there it is. All right, give me a call, 281-823-7747. All right, the last subject of the day is about our great Republican senators, all right? And it's the article at Common Dreams. GOP senators blasted for voting to spike. Republicans it says this was calculated attack on hardworking families across the nation. Also, Republicans can keep showering billionaires and big corporations with tax breaks. This is not cliche. You know, we keep saying that the administration is throwing money to the billionaires. It sounds like cliche. Unfortunately, it's not. The Republican Party owns the healthcare crisis to come. U.S. Senator Tammy Duckworth on Thursday, after the GOP voted down a 3-year extension of Affordable Act subsidies, all but guaranteeing that health insurance premiums will double on average for about 22 million Americans, and at least one Republican lawmaker couldn't help but agree with her. If you're not concerned, then you are living in a cave. Let me put that on the screen. If you are not concerned, then you are living in a cave. That is from Jim Justice, the former governor of West Virginia, now the Republican, he used to be a Democrat, now the Republican senator from West Virginia, regarding the impact the vote could have on the Republican Party in next year's midterm. If you are not watching the elections that are happening all the time, then you're living in a cave. The much anticipated vote came more than 2 months after the beginning of a record-breaking shutdown, which lasted from October to November and started when Democrats refused to back a spending bill that would have allowed for expiration of the ACA subsidies. A November poll found that Americans blamed President Trump and the GOP for rising healthcare costs and for the shutdown. And that is justifiable. On Thursday, and as expected, the vast majority of Senate Republicans refused to join Democrats in voting to extend subsidies. Four Republicans, Senator Lisa Murkowski, Dan Sullivan of Alaska, Josh Hawley of Missouri, and Susan Collins of Maine, voted in favor of the bill, bringing it to a 51-58 vote, but they needed 60 votes. They needed 60 votes. Folks, these guys are killing Americans. Let's not pussyfoot about it. These guys are killing Americans because, as you would see on TV, I made a couple of videos. Well, I think I taped a couple of videos that I haven't put out yet. I didn't have the time to do it. Where people say, I'm just gonna have to give up on insurance. If my insurance was $500 last year, and this year it's $1,250. How can I possibly add another $750 to my budget, some would say? People don't have that kind of money to add to their budgets, and it's all unavoidable. These senators just simply have to say, okay, we'll extend the subsidies and continue working to try to do health care. Republicans for 15 years have been talking about repeal and replace. Repeal and replace. Lisa Randall is right. She says, as they have excellent health care on our dime. It is a shame. Lady Historian says, check out my Substack of recent days. What else is there? What else is there? It's not just oil Trump is going after. The Post discusses the other resources they covet. Yep, they have gold, they have silver. It is a shame, Lady Historian. It's a shame. Marnie says the GOP healthcare plan to cover us with 6 feet of dirt. That one is frameable. The GOP healthcare plan, cover us with 6 feet of dirt. I like that. That's a good sign. GOP Republican healthcare plan, cover us with 6 feet of dirt, not insurance. I love that. I love that. Good one. Rare earth minerals, exactly, Lady Historian. They need to go in there and I gotta read your. I tell you, Lady Historian, why don't you throw the link of your article into the chat so that I can put it into both chats. If you can do that in the next couple of minutes, Lady Historian. But yes, folks, on Thursday, as expected, the vast majority of Senate Republicans refused to join Democrats in voting for extended subsidies. That line should have read, on Thursday, as expected, most Republicans voted to kill their constituents. That's what they should have put there. 4 Republican senators, well, we've said that. GOP failed by the same margins. Look, folks, it is time to vote your interest. And you know what I'm starting to see? When I said I was thankful because Americans are starting to react. Miami is probative. The Senate election, the state Senate election in Georgia yesterday as well was probative. Think about it. We'll get the link to you, but can't right now. Okay, no problem, Lady Historian. But send it to me via the Substack chat or Substack message is what I should say. But yeah, my people, we have to react. For Republicans who decide to remain immutable, forget about them. We are not going to allow them to kill us. We're going to get them out of office. And for those who continue to put their heads in the sand, lucky for them, as we win, they will win as well. But if they win, we all lose, including those themselves lose. They are hoping that folks will die before they can collect their money and Social Security. Yep, you're right about that. You're right about that. Okay, what else have we got here? All right, we're at 2 minutes. I'm going to wait one more second for any calls that may come in. 281-823-7747. Then I'm going to go ahead and do my ask. All right, folks. This is a user. This is a subscriber supported network. We continue to do this based on you supporting the program. So I want to ask you so kindly to please consider giving us a coffee by supporting the program, going to politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. politicsdoneright.com/newsletter. That is how you support the entire enterprise. There are a lot of other ways to support the enterprise, but the one that we normally ask for is becoming subscribers of our newsletter. We need to reach, to get our next flag, we need to reach about 1,000 to get our next star that will increase our performance. We're about 505 away from that. In other words, we have about 495 paid subscribers on different tiers. We need at least another 505 paid subscribers. When we get there, we should also have an improvement in our throughput. If you can help us get there, you will be helping not just the movement, but again, we are doing our part to move forward. So let me go ahead and put that link in there. I'll tell you what link I'm going to put today. Today I'm going to put our catch-all link. I think, let me see if this is the right one. Bear with me one quick second. I want to make sure that I have the right link here. Para ver si este es el link que voy a poner allá adentro. Let's see if this is the one. There are many ways to support our program here. I'm going to give you 2 links. This is where you can choose the form of support that you want to give. And if you want to support us via the newsletter, you can support us via the newsletter by the politicsdoneright.com newsletter link. But we cannot do this without you. We need your support to move forward. And here it is as well. All right, folks, we are at 4:01. In other words, time for me to get out of here. Love you all. You can email me directly at info@politicsdoneright.com, info@politicsdoneright.com. My name is Egberto Willies. This is Politics Done Right. You guys know how I end this baby. I am what? Out!
Welcome to Politics Done Right. I am your host, Egberto Willies. This is a progressive program that will take the mystery out of politics. This is the program that will encourage you to make sure government becomes we the people. Whether you are liberal, progressive, conservative, or otherwise, you get to air your point of view. We are an independent media outlet that, unlike mainstream media beholden to corporations, we only owe allegiance to you. Remember, you can also send me a tweet at EGBERTOWILLIES. That is at Egberto Willies. Let us engage. It is Politics Done Right.